Mark Carney was snubbed by Trump, and it is embarrassing. Mark Carney will not stop talking about, attacking, and going after Trump in America. And this comes off the heels of famed liberal economists talking about how Mark Carney's costed plans are going to be bad for Canada and Canadians. And right now, as we speak, we have projects costing multi-billions of dollars almost completed that are increasing our trade relationship with the United States. Yes, our greatest ally and trading partner, who we send almost 80% of our exports to. We have a bunch of videos to get into today showing how Carney is going to make Canadians suffer. This is going to get worse, and it will hurt us. Let's get into it.
It's great to be here, as I say, to be in the heart of Victoria, to talk about our plan to build BC and to build Canada strong. And we need that plan because we are facing the biggest crisis of our lifetimes. President Trump is attacking Canada, America's closest ally, America's closest partner.
The biggest crisis of our lifetimes are tariffs on selected goods. We've had tariffs previously throughout all of Canadian American history, but right now, the very limited tariffs that are being put on by the US are the largest crisis of our lifetime. The amount of fear-mongering and hyperbole in this entire announcement was so frustrating because guess what? Trump is right about to snub Carney.
President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. Now, that will never happen. We will get through this crisis if we come together, if we unite our country around a bold plan rooted in shared values. Here in British Columbia and across Canada, I'm asking you to vote with me for positive reasons, regardless of which party you voted for and supported in the past.
So the positive reasons of taking on our largest trading partner after 10 years of poor liberal management that has destroyed Canada's economy by shutting down major projects, turning America into an adversary, and again, Carney has no campaign. He's just Trudeau. The only thing that he has is the anti-Trump rhetoric, and why it's so embarrassing for us. I want to show a video from Pierre first, but we'll get into what America's saying.
Well, part of your platform projects growth based on projects that have yet to happen, by repealing C-69, by having growth with pipelines that could take years. So I just wonder, should you have erred more on the side of caution, given the fact that we're only a few months into a trade war?
Well, listen, first of all, the reason our economy has no growth and has been in a per capita recession for the last 5 years is because of the policies that Mark Carney advised Justin Trudeau's Liberals to implement. They are the reckless ones, and now what is ultimately the most reckless of all is at a period of uncertainty, Mark Carney says he wants to keep all of the spending that Justin Trudeau planned and then stack $130 billion more spending on top of that for a total of $250 billion of extra inflationary debt that
Exactly. So it's just the problem is, again, Carney has no platform, so it's a race to the bottom. He's just trying to spend more to buy votes. And even in her question, we're only a few months into this trade war, as if it's not avoidable. And it is avoidable because we are seeing China is even coming to the table with all of the escalations that they had, all of the back and forth. China is now looking like they're almost ready to make a deal with the U.S. So do you remember the only two countries that had put on counter tariffs and were going against the U.S.? Yeah, it was China and Canada. And now China, who has way more power than we do, is coming to the table. But Carney can't stop milking that teat.
I'm Ashley Burke, covering the Liberal campaign. Leader Mark Carney is here in battleground Quebec, targeting ridings with tight races his party wants to take from the Bloc Québécois. He's also defending the spending in his party's platform released over the long weekend. Carney's planning on a $62 billion deficit this fiscal year that would drop over 3 years to just under $50 billion. A prominent Canadian economics professor has warned Carney's fiscal trajectory could be headed in a potentially unsustainable direction. But Carney says that's wrong and he has more experience. The Liberal leader maintains his plan would create major investment to grow the economy and put Canada in a strong position to fight in a trade war against Donald Trump and win.
So, Carney's delusional, obviously. The fact that he thinks we're going to create more government debt, we're going to outspend so that we can fight Trump and win. When China is coming to the table, hundreds of countries are coming to the table. But Mark Carney, and she kind of dropped it in there like I did at the beginning, the prominent liberal economist who generally toes the line has said, this is not going to work. And Carney has the audacity to go, you're wrong. I have more experience. Look at what we're seeing. News come out of the White House and how embarrassing it is to see the countries coming to the table and what Trump's saying. And Carney is just doing the opposite, is going to destroy Canada.
Well, I spoke to our entire trade team this morning. There is a lot of progress being made. We now have 18 proposals on paper that have been brought to the trade team. Again, these are proposals on paper that countries have proposed to the Trump administration and to our government. You have Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick, Ambassador Greer, NEC Director Hassett, and Peter Navarro, the entire trade team, meeting with 34 countries this week alone. We are moving at Trump speed to ensure these deals are made on behalf of the American worker and the American people. I asked the president about this before coming out here, and he wanted me to share with all of you that we're doing very well in respect to potential trade deal with China. As I mentioned, there have now been 18 proposals in more than 100 countries around the world who are wanting to make a deal with the United States of America, and the president and the administration are setting the stage for a deal with China. So we feel everyone involved wants to see a trade deal happen, and the ball is moving in the right direction.
So as China is coming to the table, Carney is making campaign announcements 2 days in a row. I showed you the Quebec announcement, and then I showed you the BC announcement saying we are in the crisis of our lifetimes needing to take on Donald Trump. When China is coming to the table, look at what Trump is saying about China. So now the only adversary the US is going to have, in theory, is Canada, because she said, you know, there's all these proposals and these countries coming to the table. From what I can see, Canada, from the information I found, obviously I don't have all the details, but Canada is not one of the countries with a proposal sent to the US government.
Trump seems to be taking a softer tone with China. Roll tape.
No, I'm not going to mention COVID. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to play hardball with China. I'm going to play hardball with you, President Xi. No. We're going to be very nice. They're going to be very nice. And we'll see what happens. But ultimately, they have to make a deal, because otherwise they're not going to be able to deal in the United States. So we want them involved, but they have to, and other countries have to make a deal. And if they don't make a deal, we'll set the deal, because we're the ones that set the deal.
So we're the ones who set the deal, but somehow Mark Carney's going to take on Trump. Do you guys think that's realistic? Comment down below if you guys think that's even possible for Canada to take on the US in any capacity. Also, while you're there, sign up for Wealthsimple. My link is there. Again, you get $25. I get $25. It helps support the channel. I like Wealthsimple. Takes on the big banks. It's good, especially right now with these trade wars. You need to protect your personal finance. I think Wealthsimple is one of the best companies at helping Canadians do that. Speaking of Canadians and their finances, we have a $6 billion project that's being built right now, trying to increase trade relations, trying to remove barriers between us and the US as Carney continues to attack them.
Once completed, the Gordie Howe Bridge is expected to increase capacity for commercial vehicles and speed up customs processing, benefiting both commuters and the surrounding industries, specifically the automotive industry. Last year, Canada exported over $27 billion in cars to the United States and about $19 billion in car parts. But the supply chain for those cars integrates the industry across multiple countries.
Canada, the US, and Mexico have realized that it's more efficient for certain regions to specialize in certain parts. You can have an auto part go over both borders 6 or 7 times before it ends up in a car assembly in Michigan.
This Stellantis plant in Windsor, for example, builds cars that then get exported to the US, but it relies on Detroit-based suppliers for parts. And in Michigan, major plants for Ford and GM have imported Canadian parts for their vehicles, while car plants in Ontario have used American parts in their assembly.
It's insane to me to see this level of integration between our countries. And like, have you guys heard of the Slash, which is the largest land border in the world, which has no walls, has no anything, it's just trees? Well, it's trees that have been removed. We see how integrated the economy is between the US and Canada. So to see a liberal government, and honestly, guys, I've even seen you guys comment, well, we need to diversify. We need to do this. Why? We have these infrastructures here. We're building a $6 billion bridge so that we can continue to grow this so that everybody wins. And yes, I understand, like, we don't want to have full reliance on one country if they're going to try and take their jobs back, but it's just not that realistic that America wins all the jobs back. It would actually be better for us to go, hey, you know what? We will take care of and specialize in these industries. We'll work with you on that. And here we're seeing billions of dollars being spent to make this possible.
What's more, the industry relies on a just-in-time delivery model, where parts arrive exactly when needed to minimize inventory held on site, cut storage costs, and keep operations lean.
The way that they've built out these extremely efficient supply chains is to have the exact number of transmission parts that they need exactly when they need it.
The Gordie Howe was meant to support those tight timelines with more efficient delivery, but
now again, with Trump's tariffs and his explicit desire to move car factories and auto parts manufacturers out of Canada and Mexico, it seems like the Gordie Howe Bridge won't be able to solve that problem.
Well, I mean, yeah, the Gordie Howe Bridge is not the problem, and it's not supposed to be solving the problem of the tariffs. It's supposed to be having us build a stronger trade relationship with the United States. And again, when we have an adversarial government who's not wanting to work with the states, and before you guys say Trump put the tariffs on first, and I know most of you won't, guys, we have thought we are better than the US for years, for decades. This is not a new thing. There has been this sentiment of holier than thou. Canadians are better than Americans for a very long time. But look at what this is going to impact. We have, Fox Business is talking about the Canadian. I've never seen American media talk about Canadians and Canadian finances so much in my life. And it's because we are integrated to their economy, and they're going, Canada, what's going on, guys?
The S&P Global Ratings downgraded Canada's second largest province, Quebec, for the first time since the 90s, following the Trump administration's tariffs. In 2024, trade between Canada and the United States totaled $762.1 billion, with Canada exporting more than 3/4 of its goods to the United States.
Yeah, it's close to 80% of our goods go to the United States. And so, yes, some people say it's an over-reliance, but there's just really not markets that can replace that level of buying.
Bring in former Canadian Member of Parliament, Ruby Dalla. Ruby, good morning. So I think the question now for Canada, how are these new trade policies going to impact the families and the businesses in Canada?
I think it's going to have a very dramatic effect, not only on Canadian families, but Canadian businesses and the Canadian economy. We see with the tariffs that have been imposed, the cost of everything that, people need to survive is going to go up. And whether that's putting food on the table or putting gas into their cars or even their utility bills or the money that they're having to pay for homes, every single aspect and facet of their life is going to have an increase in price that they're going to have to pay.
And again, that would only be assuming that the reciprocal tariffs keep up. Like, that's the funny thing is, a bunch of Carney's plan for how they're going to generate income is tariffs. Well, tariffs are paid by Canadians on this side. So that money that's being collected is being collected by Canadian citizens, being collected from Canadian citizens. So it's just another tax, of course, that the Liberals were using to go, look, we can boost the economy with these more taxes.
Well, all of this obviously is going to play into Election Day in Canada. So it's 1 week away. Liberal incumbent Mark Carney is taking on Canada's Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre, in the race for the country's prime minister. So how are the tariffs, the U.S. tariffs, affecting the election in general?
I think it has been, first and foremost at the mind of many Canadians and many Canadian entrepreneurs as well across the country, not only talking about the tariffs at present, but also what the future holds between the Canada and the U.S. relationship. And it has also ignited a resurgence of Canadian nationalism across the country. So the Canada-U.S. and the tariff situation, and the tariffs that have been announced by the president have been top of mind for Canadians and have played a significant factor here in this Canadian election. We are almost a week away from having the winner announced, as to who the Canadians are going to choose to become their prime minister. And I think that Canadians are looking for leadership with the current prime minister that is running, that was selected almost a month ago. He is running now to get a mandate from Canadians. Many Canadians see him as the same old. It is a liberal, playbook from many of the people that were involved with Justin Trudeau.
Almost 100% of his cabinet. It's not exactly 100%, but pretty close.
They just announced a policy handbook, and many people have said they've taken out the name of Justin Trudeau and put in Mark Carney. So I think that Canadians obviously are going to have their voices heard through their vote, but Canadians are looking for leadership in the upcoming months and years, especially related to the situation with Canada and the U.S.
Interesting. I want to bring Liz Peek on that same topic. Go ahead, Liz.
Good morning. Yes, there's been a lot of talk about this being a referendum on Donald Trump, but really isn't it about your economy? I mean, unemployment is 6.7% in Canada right now. You've been through a period of slow growth, lots of job losses, et cetera. At the end of the day, do you think voters really are going to be as concerned about tariffs and Donald Trump, or they are about their own economic prospects?
I think the economic prosperity and the economic livelihood of Canadians is first and foremost at the top of mind of many Canadian voters. And
well, they say that, but then you see the interviews of people going like, well, he needs to take on Trump. And this is why this is so frustrating, because this entire thing has just been a, blessing to the Liberal campaign, because it somehow erased 10 years of poor management under the Trudeau Liberals, because they go, oh, well, we've really been suffering these last 60 days. Oh, you mean these last 10 years? It's been because they're talking about Stellantis layoffs. Oh, we're laying off because of Trump. Actually, remember when I looked up the articles and you guys had said that your sales were declining and you had to lay off preemptively because of that? So it's been this convenient excuse floating around. Oh, well, our economy's number one, so we got to take on Trump. Really? Because if our economy was number one, Trump wouldn't be the number one thing that people want to talk about. And like they will do all these mental gymnastics to say we're not American, we'll never be American, we don't want to be tied to America, but our number one voting issue is Trump.
We take a look at the existing, prime minister that was selected, Mark Carney. He was an economic advisor to Justin Trudeau. He was the one that was involved in the creation of many of the challenges that Canadians are facing at the moment. And as you rightfully said, whether it's in regards to unemployment, whether it's in regards to the falling of the economy, the increase in inflation, the challenges that Canadians are having, in the inability to be able to purchase homes, the increased cost of groceries, the increased cost of pricing of gas, right across the board. Mark Carney was an economic advisor to Justin Trudeau, and I think that is why Canadians are going to be supporting Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives in the upcoming election. But Canadians will have their voice heard on the 28th of April.
Which is pretty wild, because she's actually an ex-Liberal MP. So for her to be, this, let's say, bullish on the Canadian or the Conservatives being voted in because, Canadians are so sick of the Trudeau government. I was just surprised to hear her say that. And I actually think too many Canadians have been tricked already. But if you made it this far in the video, you absolutely rock. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps get these videos in front of more people. Want to have the channel grow. Don't forget to sign up for Well Simple. $25 for you, $25 for me. Supports the channel. And have a great rest of your day.